preparing. And we're live.
And we're live.
Yay. So, hi everybody, and welcome to day 25 of Freedom from Anxiety in Uncertain Times. And I have the lovely Julie Cluley here with me again today. And we're going to have a chat. I'm not sure about what, but we're going to chat about something. I was just saying to Julie before we came on live that today is the first day that there's nothing actually coming to me to speak about. So Julie's going to prompt me along the way today. So if you're here, say hello. And if you have any questions or comments, pop them in and maybe we'll chat about that. So I guess this kind of speaks, Julie, to the fact that we don't prepare and we just kind of show up, and I've been encouraging people to listen deeply to what's coming from beyond their thoughts. And there ain't anything coming today for me.
I love the fact. So just to share with everybody, when Jan and I got on this call like 5-10 minutes ago, normally this is the third time I've come on with Jan, and normally Jan will say, yeah, we've got a little bit of a plan, we're not really sure, but thinking about maybe talk about this, whatever. She said to me today, she went, Julie, I've got nothing. Hey, I've nothing left, I've nothing to speak about. And what came to me was like, whoa, it's taken 25 days of doing Facebook Lives for you to get to nothing. How fascinating is that? It just points to how busy we are all the time in our minds, and how we show up to things with a plan all the time, like all the time. Even when we're not really planning it, because I know you weren't spending hours and hours on it, and I know that you were, and neither was I, because clearly it's not my gig. I just have to show up. And
that's all I have to do too.
Yeah, exactly. But isn't it interesting how it's not been until day 25 that you've been confidence, maybe the wrong word, maybe relaxed enough in this space to just actually let go of the thinking and actually just show up with nothing. And how I know, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, if that had been a couple of years ago, you would have gone into panic mode.
Yes, and absolutely.
Like, I have nothing to give. What's wrong with me? There's something, I must be a bad person. I've not prepared. I haven't done this. Da, 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 da. Yeah. And there would have been a story around that.
Yes.
Which, as there would be with me as well. And often there still is a story around that. But what the beauty in it is that even in that space, or especially in that space of nothing, that's where the magic lies. That's where the magic lies. That's the bit where we can settle into and actually live life, rather than being in our heads going.
And it's so true, Julie, because I'm sitting here laughing because I have nothing, whereas I'd have been crying before.
Exactly. I would have been hysterical. I would have potentially not have shown up.
Yeah, but me too. I might have put up a post to say, I'm not feeling well today. I'll see you tomorrow.
And that would be okay too.
That would be fine
too. Isn't it interesting how now that you understand that thinking means nothing, like literally nothing, you can just still do whatever it is you want to do, which clearly was show up and chat to me.
Yeah, and I love doing these every day, but I think what I'm hearing is, or what's occurring to me is that as I've immersed myself in this every single day for the last 30 days, I've quietened down.
Yeah.
And I've got nothing because I'm just in that beautiful space. And there's no thinking in that space.
No. And I think as a culture, maybe that's a bit of a generalization, but as a culture, we are not familiar with that space.
No.
We really aren't. And certainly in my life, I can remember that space. I know it. I know what you're talking about. But it seems to me like, as for me personally as a child, I was able to spend time in that space. And then as I've got older and more responsibilities have come on, I've got married, I've had kids, and all that.
It's busy.
Yeah, it's just got busier and busier and busier. So that space, I guess, has just contracted right down till the point where I was completely burnt out and overwhelmed and stressed 3 years ago, that essentially all that had happened was the thinking had gone, and that lovely space had just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And all that's happening in this conversation is that space is getting bigger.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
And I just feel really blessed. I feel really fortunate that, for whatever reason, I bumped into the conversation, and the space is there now. Some days there's more space than others, of course, but
yeah, that's really interesting, because that's been my experience too. And I had the whole burnout thing repeatedly over many years. And that's what used to happen. It just got so crammed tight with busyness and noise and data and crap floating around inside that there just wasn't any space. Yeah, I didn't even know who I was anymore at one point. But now that I'm in this quiet space, it says to me, if there's nothing coming through or nothing being downloaded from that space, there's nothing to do. It's time to rest.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting how you're saying there's nothing to do, yet here you are?
Yeah. It's doing, I guess it is. And all of it. I mean, even bumping into the conversation, that's that greater intelligence unfolding. We didn't go looking for this conversation. It found us.
It found us without a shadow of a doubt. Like, it just quite literally, I would say, ironically, because I moan my face off about Facebook, ironically landed in a Facebook ad or a Facebook something, post, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I guess it just lands at the right time.
In the right place.
Yeah, when you can hear it.
And, that's one of the things, Julie, that's been very prominent for me, is that when things do come through, it's very surprising. Things don't come through in the way that I think they're going to come through. And things don't play out in the way that I think they are. Now, it's okay that I have thinking about how they might play out, but I'm always surprised.
Yeah. And historically, would that have stressed you out when things didn't go the same way that you had planned them?
They would, because I would have been attached to my plan, and I would have been attached to my goals and my action steps and the milestones that would tell me I was on the right path and going in the right direction. But that was just the control freak in me trying to control everything. And once I realized that I'm not in control, there's great freedom in that, because now I just have to go with whatever is showing up. And this lovely space kind of keeps us in that flow and keeps you in the zone and gives you a sense of that flow. But yeah, I'm not in it either all the time. And, as I said to you before we got on the phone, I don't have anything to talk about. And I've also been in my head all morning.
Exactly.
Because I put something new out into the market, and I sold something, and the customers come back and told me it doesn't work. So I went straight back up into my head. That's normal, that's fine. But, after a while I was able to say, hold on now, Jen, you'll be talking about hitting the pause button and you're not in control. So this is unfolding in whatever way it's supposed to. And you don't know why this is happening or where it's going or what it means or anything else. So, hands off, back off, and just let it unfold. Yeah. And it was after that I kind of fell into the space where there was nothing. And that's very interesting, Julie, because I used to think that I couldn't give up or I couldn't surrender, that I had to push through and make it happen the way I thought it should happen. Whereas that's gone now.
There's so much there was, I'm guessing, so much effort involved in that.
And energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And energy. Whereas to be able to have a situation that's clearly not helpful, it's completely stressed you out, and you're like, oh, for God's sake. But to be able to go, oh, okay, well, this is how it is. This is what's happening. And I don't like it much, but it doesn't mean to say I need to resist it.
No, it's not my preference. It's not what I thought would happen. It's not what I wanted to happen. But it's happening. And if it's happening, then the greater intelligence behind life is making it happen for some reason that I can't see yet. And it has me on some trajectory. And it's interesting because when I got over all the thinking, I called the person, and they're not somebody I know, but I called this person that bought the thing, and I offered them a refund. And their reply to me was, I don't want a refund. I want it to work. Can you help me make it work?
You're like, well, yeah, of course I can do that. That's easy.
Absolutely. But I had gotten caught up in thinking, I don't want him to be disappointed. I don't want him to feel bad. I don't want him judging me, saying he's after buying something that's a bit of crap off me. And then when I offered him that, and he was like, no, and I immediately saw, oh my God, this is a learning point for me. This is a growth point for me. If I stop with the thinking and just let all that be there and ignore it, then this is what's actually coming through, is somebody that wants to work with me and get into cooperation and collaboration with me.
Yeah, exactly.
So whatever I'm thinking was rubbish. And
whatever you're thinking, he's thinking.
Yeah, because we haven't a clue. We just don't have a clue. And, realizing that we just don't know why things are happening or where things are going has been huge for me. Because that's where the freedom is, because I don't have to direct it anymore. And I don't have to have my hand on the steering wheel and making it go left and right and pleasing this person and that person and making things go a certain way. They go whatever way they go now. And for the most part, I try to go along with it, or I do go along with it. But like this morning, there'll be times when I won't, and I'll get all caught up. But that's just the up and down of life and being human.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't beat myself up over it anymore.
Which
I
is,
laugh at myself now.
yeah, exactly. There's so much more, just laughing and lightheartedness, like this stuff happens, what are we supposed to do about it? Well, at the moment, doesn't seem like I have a solution, but I'm sure one will appear. Absolutely. If I can. It's this, for me anyway, it was this whole letting go. Hands off the steering wheel, like just let it go. There was something about that for me had very negative connotations.
Yeah, me too.
But now I see that, I guess, because every time I think the lovely thing about this conversation is that you don't have to do anything, and you can just kind of try a little bit. So like, every time you sort of thought, okay, well, I'd really like to deal with this and I'd really like to tell them what to do. And you just think, right, okay, well, I'm not going to, and I'm going to look for myself and see what happens. And every single time, like quite literally every single time that I've cottoned on that I've been doing it and I've observed it, the result has always been so much better.
Yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And it's like, so that's what I guess keeps me in the conversation. That's what keeps me coming back for more. It keeps me looking in that direction.
Yeah. And
rather than my story. Yeah,
it's so true. And what you were saying about the lightheartedness, it's about, holding your thoughts lightly and more playfully than the grabbing on and the seriousness of it all.
Yeah.
Because the grabbing on and the seriousness is what makes us tight and contracted and closed. And what we're talking about is opening up and being receptive.
Yes.
To what's coming through.
To what's actually happening.
What's actually happening.
Yeah. I had an interesting situation yesterday around like the work that I do with puppies, and somebody had put into a group, a local group here, somebody that I'd been working with, recommending somebody else that she's obviously also working with.
Okay.
course, in my head, I was like, oh my God, they obviously hate me. They clearly hate me. Oh my God. Now, before, I could have quite honestly spiraled about that for a week, maybe even 2. And already I've noticed that the story is still there, as in it's still in my head, because I'm clearly talking about it to you. But the story that I heard in my head yesterday is completely different to the story that I've heard in my head today.
Really?
And that to me is fascinating because nothing's actually changed.
No.
You know, the recommendation is still there. It's still live. It's still whatever it means. But
it's talk to the other person.
What's that?
They'll still talk to the other person.
Of course, exactly. And it's actually in that space of being able to settle with it. Interestingly, I've had a massive, massive insight regards my work and what my work actually is, and how it is that I help people, and how the way I help people is very different to the way that other people help people. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's the way I used to work, and it works. It's just that I don't want to do that. So why am I even bothered about it? Because I don't even want to do that.
No, exactly.
And it's really interesting, isn't it? Because it's just...
Yeah. And everybody's on their own journey and ready for different things and different people at different times. And, you know, I mean, my journey, I mean, I went through counseling and coaching and NLP and CBT and Sedona method and IET and blah, 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 blah. And they were all wonderful and helped me at those times, but they were all part of the journey.
Yes.
And I think if I hadn't gone through that journey, when I stumbled across this understanding, I wouldn't have been ready for it. Because there was already some seeds planted along the way.
Absolutely. And it's really interesting because one of the big realizations that I had with work with puppies is that the magic is in the understanding. It's in the understanding what's going on with your puppy, and then you have the solution. Whereas historically, all the training and the work that I've done has been about sort of helping people to see what I see.
Yes.
Whereas now I see they don't need to see what I see. They need to see what their puppy is showing them.
Yeah.
And in that is like a fundamental difference in how you see the world.
Yeah. And that's been really key for me as well, I think, is that when we get this understanding at an experiential level, the world looks different. It just does somehow.
It does.
Because your perspective has changed, your paradigm has changed, the lens at which you're looking through life is different. So everything looks different, just like your situation looked one way yesterday and another way today.
Yeah.
You're not at the same place. Your thinking has moved on.
Yeah. And our thinking only moves on when, well, in my experience, our thinking only moves on when we don't get in there and start trying to do something about it.
Yeah.
And change it, and all that.
Yeah. And I was like you, in the sense that I really wanted to be in control, but and I was trying to grab onto everything, and that sense of not being in control was scary to me, because then I felt out of control.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's been the beauty of this conversation, is I now see that I'm not in control, but this greater intelligence of life has my back every single moment. So I don't need to be in control.
Yeah, the not being in control has shifted from being terrifying to being, oh, thank God.
Yeah. I don't ever have to worry again, because that energy is always trying to express through me, live through me. It's constantly prompting me. And when I tune into the understanding and listen to that place, then we know what to do, even if that's nothing.
And that often is nothing
Often
other
is
than what's
Well,
right in front of you.
yeah, and I think, Julie, because sometimes we're so busy up here and get so caught up in our personal thinking, that when we do finally connect, that it can be empty with nothing there for a while, because it's time to rest.
Yeah.
We've been so busy and we're so exhausted from all that energy that you spoke about, that we invest into trying to sort things out from here, that we just need time to kind of recover before anything new kind of starts to come through.
Yeah, and that's maybe something like to kind of finish with, and to allow people to maybe think about,
Yeah.
is that if they have heard something in this conversation over the last 25 days and they're feeling a little bit maybe out of sorts,
Yeah.
and a bit kind of, whoa, I'm not sure about this, then that's good, that's fine. You know, that's not a reason to tune out.
No, just stay open to the possibility that it can happen and it will happen. And if you stay at the bus stop for insights and look in the direction of insights,
Yeah,
keep
yeah,
the conversation, it'll come.
yeah.
But we don't know when it'll come, because it
No,
doesn't come on our timeline.
no, it really doesn't.
We're going to drop the agenda. Yeah.
Perfect, brilliant.
Alrighty, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. And
Very welcome, thank you.
yes, we'll see you again soon, hopefully.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jan. Bye.
See you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.